The beginning of unease. It was the fall of 2014 when Claire Donovan transferred to a small Midwestern university. She was a junior, majoring in psychology, and wanted a fresh start after leaving behind a messy breakup in her hometown. The campus was quiet, almost too quiet, compared to the lively city she'd come from. Red and orange leaves littered the sidewalks, the chill in the air hinted at the coming winter, and students mostly kept to themselves. Claire was placed in a small off-campus house owned by the university. It wasn't much, 2 stories, peeling paint on the outside, and the faint smell of mildew in the hallways. She was assigned a roommate, a girl named Emily Hart. Emily was friendly but secretive. She had long dark hair, pale skin, and a nervous laugh. She didn't talk much about her past, only that she had moved around a lot and liked to keep things low-key. Claire noticed strange habits almost immediately. Emily locked her bedroom door at night, even when she went to the bathroom. She kept a journal but never let it out of her sight. Sometimes Claire would wake up at 2 or 3 a.m. and hear Emily whispering, low, frantic whispers, as if she were talking to someone in the dark. Claire chalked it up to quirks. College kids were weird. But soon, things began happening that she couldn't explain. One night, Claire returned from the library around midnight. The house was dark except for Emily's light seeping under her door. As Claire passed by, she heard Emily muttering again. Curious, she pressed her ear to the wood. Emily's voice was shaky. They're here again. I know. No, don't say that. I'm trying. Please, please don't make me. The sound of shuffling footsteps came from inside. Claire panicked, thinking Emily might be on the phone, and quickly went to her room. But the whispers continued for hours. The next morning, Claire casually asked, "Were you talking to someone last night?" Emily froze. No. Why? Claire shrugged. Just thought I heard voices. Emily's eyes darkened, and she quickly changed the subject. Over the next few weeks, items began moving in the house. Claire's textbooks would be shifted, her coffee mug disappeared for a day then reappeared in the fridge, and once she found her blanket neatly folded on the floor when she was sure she'd gone to bed under it. The worst was the knocking. At exactly 3:17 a.m., Claire would hear 3 sharp knocks on her bedroom wall. Always 3. Always the same time. When she asked Emily, Emily turned pale and whispered, "Don't answer it." Curiosity overcame fear. One rainy afternoon, when Emily left for class, Claire found her roommate's journal sitting on the desk. She knew it was wrong, but something about the way Emily had been acting made her stomach twist with dread. The entries were terrifying. September 2nd, they followed me here. I thought moving would help. It doesn't. September 14th, the man in the corner won't stop watching me. He stands by the closet at night. September 29th, they knock on Claire's wall too. I think they want her now. October 3rd, if I ignore them, they get angry. They say I have to give them something. Claire slammed the journal shut, her hands trembling. Her heart raced as she realized Emily wasn't just imagining things, at least, Emily believed every word she wrote. That night, Claire confronted her. "Emily, I read your journal. What's going on?" Emily broke down, tears streaming down her face. "They won't leave me alone. They've been with me since I was a kid. The knocking, the voices, the shadows. They want something. And I think they're tired of me." Claire didn't know whether to call a doctor, a priest, or the police. But deep inside, she felt Emily was telling the truth. The activity worsened. Doors slammed shut with no wind. Lights flickered and bulbs burst. The knocking grew louder, shaking the walls. Claire even began hearing whispers herself, disembodied voices calling her name in the dead of night. One evening, Emily refused to leave her room. "If I go outside, they'll follow me. If I stay in, maybe they'll take you instead." Her words chilled Claire. That night, Claire woke to the sound of her bedroom door creaking open. She sat up, heart pounding. In the doorway stood a tall, thin shadow. It didn't move. It didn't breathe. It just stood there. Claire screamed, and the shadow dissolved into the darkness. Emily rushed in seconds later, pale and shaking. "You saw him too, didn't you?" On October 15th, everything changed. Claire came home from class and found the house eerily silent. Emily's door was wide open for the first time. Her bed was neatly made, her journal gone. But the window was open, curtains fluttering in the cold wind. Emily had vanished. Claire called the police. A missing persons report was filed. Detectives searched the house but found no signs of forced entry, no footprints, no fingerprints. Emily was simply gone. But the knocks continued. 3:17 a.m. 3 sharp raps on Claire's wall. Only now, when Claire pressed her ear to the wood, she heard Emily's voice whispering from the other side. "Help me, please, don't let them take you too." Claire moved out within a week. She couldn't bear the house anymore. But the horror followed her. In her new apartment, far from campus, she still woke at 3:17 a.m. to the knocking. She still heard Emily's desperate whispers. She stopped sleeping. Stopped eating. Her grades plummeted. Friends noticed the bags under her eyes, the way she jumped at every sound. The final straw came one night when she turned on the bathroom light and saw a message scrawled across the mirror in steam, even though she hadn't run hot water. "You're next." Claire dropped out the next semester. No one ever found Emily Hart. Her name faded from campus gossip, her file buried under unsolved cases. But Claire knew the truth, Emily hadn't just disappeared. She'd been taken. And Claire feared her turn was coming. That night was worse. We sat by the fire, trying to laugh and drink a couple of beers, but the woods around us felt wrong. The darkness pressed in heavier than usual, and every crack of a branch made us jump. Around midnight, as we tried to sleep, I heard something outside the tent. At first, I thought it was an animal. But then I realized, it was footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Circling the tent. I held my breath, gripping the handle of the pocket knife I kept in my sleeping bag. Daniel whispered, "You hear that too?" We stayed silent, listening as the steps moved around us. After a few minutes, they stopped. I almost convinced myself it was just paranoia, until the faint sound of whistling started. A slow, tuneless whistle that drifted through the trees. It went on for hours. By morning, Daniel was gone. I woke up to find the tent half unzipped, his backpack still inside, but no sign of him. I shouted his name until my throat hurt. No answer. I searched the clearing, the trail, even the stream nearby. Nothing. The only thing I found was a set of bare footprints in the mud leading away from our campsite. They weren't Daniel's. They were larger, uneven, almost dragging. I followed them for nearly an hour, deeper into the woods, until I came to another clearing. And there, scattered across the ground, were dozens of those same stacked rock pyramids, forming a circle around the clearing. At the center was Daniel's hat. No Daniel. Panic set in. I tried to retrace my steps back to camp, but the forest seemed to shift. Trails that were clear before now twisted into different directions. Landmarks vanished. And then, as the sun dipped low, I saw him again. The same man from before, standing at the edge of the trees. Only this time, he was closer. His eyes, dark, sunken, never left mine. I shouted, demanded to know what he did with Daniel. The man didn't speak. Instead, He slowly raised his hand and pointed toward the ground at his feet. There, half buried in dirt, was Daniel's backpack. I bolted. Just silence. That night was a blur of terror. I ran blindly through the forest, branches tearing at my skin, the sound of that whistling following me everywhere. Sometimes it was distant, sometimes it was right behind me. At one point, I swear I felt breath against the back of my neck. When I finally stumbled onto a dirt road around dawn, I collapsed in relief. A passing car picked me up, and the driver rushed me to the nearest ranger station. But when search teams went back for Daniel, they found nothing. Not the tent, not our gear, not the stacked rocks. It was like it all had been erased. One by one, passengers vanished. The restless child and her mother, gone, their luggage still in the overhead compartment. The businessman, his laptop still glowing, but his seat empty. Every time Sarah tried to tell the driver, he denied they had ever been on board. "Miss, it's just you and me," he insisted. His eyes flicked nervously to the rearview mirror. "Don't turn around. Don't look at him." But Sarah couldn't help it. Each time she glanced back, the pale man was closer. No footsteps. No sound. Just closer. 2 rows away. Then 1. At 3:17 a.m., the same cursed time Sarah would later learn was tied to dozens of disappearances on this highway, the bus jolted violently. The lights flickered out. When they came back on, the driver was gone. Only Sarah and the pale man remained. Sarah pressed herself against the window, sobbing. "What do you want from me?" The man tilted his head, studying her like a predator sizing up prey. His voice was low, guttural, echoing in her skull rather than in the air. "This bus doesn't take people home. It delivers them." "Delivers them where?" she whispered. His smile widened, revealing teeth too sharp, too many. "Where I came from." The bus screeched to a halt on an empty stretch of snow-choked highway. Doors hissed open. Outside, the storm parted like curtains, revealing an expanse of black nothingness. No road, no trees, no sky. Just endless dark. Sarah's screams were the last sound before the bus swallowed her. 2.3 days later, police found the Greyhound abandoned on the side of the road. The engine still running. Luggage and personal items strewn across the seats. But not a single passenger. The only clue was a message scratched into the frost of the driver's side window, as if by a fingertip from the inside. "Don't take the 317 route. The case remains unsolved. Families still search for their missing loved ones." And late at night, when the snow comes heavy, some truckers swear they've seen a lone Greyhound bus drifting down the highway, lights on, seats full of pale, unmoving passengers staring out into the dark. In the fall of 2017, Michael and Jenna Carter moved into a small rental house just outside Hollow Creek, a quiet rural town in Pennsylvania. They had been married less than a year, still in that stage of trying to build a life together. The house wasn't perfect, peeling wallpaper, squeaky floors, but the price was low, and the landlord seemed eager to hand it over. On move-in day, the landlord gave them one warning as he handed over the keys. "Don't go into the basement after dark." Michael laughed, thinking it was some small-town joke. Jenna didn't. She had grown up in a religious household that believed in spirits, and the look in the landlord's eyes unsettled her. That night, while unpacking, Jenna swore she heard something. Faint scratching beneath the floorboards, almost like fingernails dragging across wood. Michael dismissed it as mice. But deep down, Jenna felt the house wasn't empty. 2 weeks in, the disturbances began. At 3:15 every morning, without fail, the bedroom door rattled violently, as if someone were trying to force their way inside. When Michael would open it, the hallway would be empty. Objects moved. A stack of plates fell from the counter when no one was near. Lights flickered even after bulbs were replaced. But the worst was the basement door. No matter how many times Michael locked it, he'd wake to find it standing wide open. The darkness below seemed unnatural, too deep, swallowing light like water. One night, after hearing heavy footsteps coming from the basement, Jenna insisted they call the landlord. But when Michael dialed, the number was disconnected. By late October, things escalated. Jenna began hearing whispers whenever she was alone in the kitchen. Low, urgent voices just beyond hearing, like a conversation in another room. One night she caught a word clearly. "Leave." Michael still refused to believe. "It's old pipes, drafts, your imagination," he said. But his confidence cracked the night he woke to find Jenna standing at the basement door, her hand on the knob, eyes glazed. "What are you doing?" he shouted, shaking her awake. Jenna gasped, trembling. "They were calling me. They said they needed me." Michael held her tight. For the first time, he was afraid, determined to get answers. Michael drove to the Hollow Creek Library the next day. He found old newspaper clippings that made his blood run cold. The house had once belonged to the Whitlock family in the 1950s. 5 members had lived there. In 1962, all were found dead in the basement, throats slit, blood drained into the dirt floor. The case was ruled a murder-suicide, but locals whispered about rituals, about bargains gone wrong. In the decade since, every tenant had fled within months. Some vanished without a trace. Michael didn't tell Jenna the details. He didn't want to scare her more than she already was. But when he returned home, she was pale, trembling. "They told me their names," she whispered. "Whitlock. They said they want me to join." On Halloween night, the house came alive. At exactly 3:15 a.m., every door in the house slammed open at once. The basement door swung wide with a deafening crack. Cold air rushed upward, carrying the smell of iron and rot. Michael grabbed Jenna and tried to run, but the front door refused to open. The windows wouldn't budge. It was as if the house itself had locked them in. From the basement, footsteps rose. Heavy. Wet. Slow. A voice echoed through the halls, deep and guttural. Downstairs. Jenna's eyes glazed again. She began walking toward the basement. Michael tried to hold her back, but her strength was unnatural, impossible. She dragged him with her. They descended the creaking stairs. At the bottom, the dirt floor was stained dark, still damp after all these decades. Shapes moved in the corners, pale, gaunt figures with hollow eyes. The Whitlocks. One stepped forward. His throat was cut wide open, yet he spoke clearly. "She belongs here now." Michael screamed, pulling Jenna away. But the figures surged forward, their hands icy cold as they clawed at his arms, summoning strength he didn't know he had. Michael wrenched free, dragging Jenna up the stairs. The figures shrieked, the sound so loud his ears bled. He slammed the basement door shut, and for the first time, it stayed closed. They fled into the night, barefoot, never once looking back. By morning, the house stood empty. Their belongings, their clothes, everything they owned, left behind. They filed a police report, but officers who investigated claimed the house was abandoned, filled with nothing but dust and cobwebs. No evidence of the Whitlocks. No sign of blood. But Michael and Jenna knew what they had seen. And they knew they had barely escaped. The Carters never returned to Hollow Creek. They moved 3 states away, started fresh, and never spoke publicly about the house. But privately, Jenna admitted something terrifying. When she looked into the eyes of the Whitlock spirits, she felt something pass into her. A part of them, inside her. 2 years later, Jenna disappeared. One night she simply left their apartment, barefoot, vanishing into the darkness. Michael never saw her again. And when police searched for her, one officer reported a strange lead. Someone had spotted a woman matching Jenna's description, walking down a lonely road outside Hollow Creek, headed straight toward the abandoned house at Hollow Creek Road.